Hi, thanks for talking to me today. I appreciate it. It's nice to see you again. We had talked last season very
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah.
But I really enjoyed the second season. I just watched the last episode last night, so all caught up. So can you start by just talking a little bit about sort of where he's at, I guess, at the start of the season, like how he sort of changed from last season, just sort of where he's at in his mindset.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So the end of season one, the Outlaws obviously had to come together to sort of sort out the issue of like the London gang and stuff like that. So he starts off feeling quite resolved. The gap between season one and season two is literally about 48 hours. So for him, he feels like everything's done, the dust is settled, and he can start to just move on and just continue to develop his relationships with the rest of the Outlaws, especially Ronnie, who he has a real crush on.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. And obviously this is gonna go up after the show premieres, but can you talk a bit about sort of how their relationship evolves this season?
Yeah, sure. So, as you saw from the beginning, the season one, they had an instant connection and they went through a lot of trials and tribulations. Obviously her being there when he left the house with the money, and just really being involved from the very very offset. Uh, I feel like their relationship just sort of bloomed from that point. And so going through season two, it's about them two really connecting and trying to look at building a future. Season two for Christian is about the discovery of himself and his dreams, what he wants to do. And he never really got that opportunity to, because he was so fixated on looking after Esme and making sure that she had the opportunities and that she was able to do more than he was. But for him now, he's allowed to be a little bit selfish in a way, and he really wants to include Ronnie in that. So, him wanting to go to a place and really like set up a food shack for him, and them two to run that business together really is him being very vulnerable, because you don't really get to see that in season one. Um, see him share his dreams like that. So for him, that was really, really important. That's really special to him. So, that's sort of the journey of their relationship in season two.
All right. Now you're talking about what he wants to do, but I want to talk a bit about what he doesn't want to do. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
he does not want to end up selling drugs as they do. Um, Now, I want to say obviously they do it to save their lives. That's kind of the main reason, but he's
Mm.
still not okay with it. What is he sort of, I guess, saying to himself to get through it and be okay with it? Or is he really doing it more for Ronnie than himself? I just talk a bit about that.
It's a bit of that, yes, but you have to remember the stakes. The stakes are really, really high, and the implications aren't just for him; it's for his family too. He knows that they know his sister, they know his mom, and those are the people that are closest to him. So he knows that if he does this, it gives him a chance at least for their safety. Obviously he is doing it as well for Ronnie as well. He wants her out of it just as he wants to be out of it. But he knows that these things are serious. He's grown up in an environment where he's seen these things and he's seen what can happen, when you try and like get out of it prematurely, or you try and, you know, avoid it somehow. The implications can be really severe. So he's fully aware of the stakes, never mind having a bag over his head and almost suffocating. That it's really really serious to him. So he knows that he can't just play with this. This isn't something that he can just bury and it will go away. But of course, he definitely doesn't want to be a part of this. He just wants to be happy and free and in love and just live.
Do you think that he really thinks that what they're doing will be enough, though? Because I think even as viewers, you're kind of like, there's no way this guy's going to just let them leave. And he
Mm.
sort of has, he knows what this kind of guy is like.
Yeah, yeah. He's familiar. I think it's more optimism than anything. He knows that doing this, yes, it may not be enough, but what other choice do you have? he wanted to initially go to the police and stuff, and then that's when he received the video showing
Mhm.
his sister was being watched, and automatically you're handcuffed. You don't know what to do, you know. So
Mhm.
in those moments of uncertainty, you tend to follow the person who seems the most sure, and that was Rani, and he sort of went with it in hope that that would be the end. But of course, like you said, he does have knowledge of the streets, so he just was a bit skeptical that it would be the end, but he just did hope. He was in
Yeah.
hope that it would end. Yeah.
Fair enough. Now he starts to see that she's sort of getting excited by all the danger and everything. Do you think that he should have, I guess, been more proactive in stopping that, or do you think that that would have also pushed her away? Because ultimately, that leads to
Mm.
not great things.
Yeah, no, of course. It's such a great question. I think for him, he when you really like somebody, I think sometimes when you see the change in them, you don't want to believe it sometimes, and you just kind of hope that this is just a little bit of a phase, and
Mhm.
once this is over with, she'll go back to being who she is, and you'll go off, and it will be great, and that happily ever after sort of existed in his mind, and he knew that at the same time he wanted to be by her side because the stuff that they're doing is dangerous. He doesn't want to turn his back on her in this moment in time. This is probably the most serious thing she's ever been in her whole life. And that's what you do. You don't turn your back. He's quite a loyal person. Um so yeah, that's what I would say.
Do you think, and this was just kind of my own opinion, and I know when you watch TV, a lot of times it's sort of hard to tell how much, time's passed as a viewer, but
Yeah.
I kind of almost wondered if maybe they went too fast because she seems to be have not had a lot of relationships, if at all. And suddenly they go from roommates to we're sleeping together to we're going to move away together and we're building this whole life. And obviously he wants that because he hasn't had that. But I don't,
Mhm.
I almost felt like maybe that was just too much for her to handle too fast. Did you feel
Yeah, no, for
that
sure.
at all?
It definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it definitely was. I think it's a multitude of things, that sort of sped that up for him. I think if you could take away the London gang situation, I think that would have been a natural progression. But season two starts with her knocking at his door because she has nowhere else to go. So the initial part of them living together wasn't based on the relationship. It was literally just she didn't have anybody else to turn to. And then obviously the relationship progressed from there, and the stakes continuously grew, which sort of forced Christian to make this decision that, what, the best thing for us to do would be to get out because I really care about you. And obviously, I've got a way or a plan, just like she had a plan. He
Right.
also had a plan of like a happily ever after. So once we do what you say, here's a way that we can get out because they had that conversation, where he asks her like, when this is over, like, what are we gonna do? And she just was really unsure, which for him is something that he doesn't want because like you said, is that family, is that stability, is being able to live away from all of this. That is what he is fighting for, and obviously he's done it, some would say, the wrong way by being involved in this. But I just, like, for him, the stakes were just so high, he didn't really have a choice.
All right, that makes sense. Do you have an easier time with the more dramatic moments or the comedic moments? Because obviously the show gets really funny at certain times.
Mm.
What part do you find more harder, and what part do you enjoy more? I guess.
Do you know what? The part I find the hardest is the part I enjoy most, which is the comedy side. Working with Stephen and like Christopher and Jess and Darren, who are just naturally so hilarious. You do watch and you do think, how do you do it like that? How is it so effortless? But me, I like to ask questions, and I always, want to learn. I'm a student in this, so I'm happy to always ask questions and try and figure out new techniques and ways to sort of make it easier for myself. I think everybody's comedic timing is different. It's such a really, it's like a specialized skill, I believe. So I would say that the comedy is harder for me, but I enjoyed that challenge a lot. I really did.
Fair enough. Now, you said you're always learning from them. What else, other than about comedic timing, have you sort of learned about yourself as an actor from working on this and working with the other actors? Is there anything else?
No, there's honestly there's like a ton of things that I learned from them. Like I honestly I was so honored to be able to work with these people and share this space. Growing up watching people like Christopher and seeing Stephen on the television beforehand, and then being able to call them and speak to them, and go out and away from work and actually talk to them about just the industry and how things work, and as an actor, the way you should like preparation techniques, and how they make their choices and how they discover those little gems in their characters is something that I definitely spoke to them about and asked them about. And choices are important, and how it feeds the story. It was such a difficult time filming. Not only weren't we not filming chronologically, we were filming 2 seasons at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so there was a point early on in our shooting schedule where we had already shot scenes from episode 6 of season 2, but we hadn't shot the majority of season 1 yet. So it was exactly. So for me, it was just like getting my head around that, and how to sort of, remember to live in each moment as they come, but also having to forget certain things, like this hasn't happened yet and that's about to happen yet. But do you know what I mean? So it was really, really tough. So I lent on the experienced actors like Stephen and Christopher, and even the directors like Alicia and John, and just spoke to them constantly, and they sort of just helped me through that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We're out of time, but I hope you get a season 3. I want to see more. I know if you do, it'll go to your country first before mine anyway, but but I want to see more. So
we'll try to see if we can work something out for season 2.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time. Have a good after. Well, I don't know if it's afternoon there to you, but it's almost afternoon today. Have a good day.
All right. Take care, Jamie.
Thanks. Bye-bye.